worship. Hey, listen, right now, we're going to have a good friend of mine, Todd Waites. You've been hearing him tonight on the keyboards, a renowned keyboardist, and has traveled literally the world. And he's going to share some of his story. We've been able to spend the last few days together. We met quite some time back, and just God kindled a relationship and began to pour into each of us through each other, and just begin to develop that relationship and what God is doing. And I was so thrilled and so honored that we were able to put together. I called TBN and I said, hey, I've got an idea. I want to put together some programs about brokenness, that our past does not determine our future, that we don't have to be tethered to the things that are behind us, that God wants to advance us to the purpose and the plan that he has before us. And they said, let's do it. And so we booked these television programs, and I'm just going to tell you, your very own Shelley Osing preached the lights out of the place today on TBN. Just a tremendous job, and everybody did just so well. I was so honored as pastor. I was so humbled by it. But I'm going to ask Todd if he comes. He's going to share you a little bit of his story right now. And I want you to give a great big Crosby Church welcome to Mr. Todd Waites. Bless you, brother.
Okay, is this on? Can you hear me? I know what everybody is thinking. You're saying, dang, that Bethany Hamilton, that girl from Soul Surfer who got her arm bit off by a shark, she is not aged well. She is looking rough. She even grew a beard. Ugh. Thank you so much for having me. Pastor Keenan, Pastor Laura, you guys have been amazing hosts and hostesses. And I've had an amazing couple of days. I can't wait to get home to my family tomorrow, but it's really going to be hard to leave. In fact, I called my wife today. I said, I would move here just to go to this church. And I go to a lot of churches, and I say that at every one. No, I don't. I don't. So speaking of my family, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I live with my wife, Laura, who I cannot believe she ever gave me her phone number. She can't believe she ever gave me her phone number. I have 3 children. Brittany, she'll be 24. Seth is 20. And little rascal Ian is 5. So I am a living, breathing example that God takes our life and gives us some twists and turns, right? So who knows that God tells us and promises us that he has a purpose for us, and it's a good one. You guys know that? All right, make some noise. Make some noise. I like this. Okay. Who knows that God says we can do all things through Christ? Wow. You put those two things together, and it is a perfect storm. You can do anything. The sky is the limit. And the Lord God Almighty, he has a plan for us. And it could be anything. Now, who knows that he tells you exactly how it's going to go and gives you the play-by-play so there's no surprises? Anybody, please, because I've been looking for that. That would really help. And that is the perfect storm of that God has an amazing sense of humor. So that's his little perfect storm. And when I was little, when I was 4 years old, I was really attracted to this big Phantom of the Opera granny-looking organ that my parents had at their house. Everybody else, they liked guitars and drums. I thought this thing was the coolest. Remember those station wagons with the wood grain sides and an awkward seat that faced the wrong way? That was the equivalent, okay? I didn't want the Camaro, right? I wanted the station wagon with wood grain sides and the awkward seat. My plan for my life was to be a musician, and it has never changed. From the time I was 4 years old, all the way through now and all the way through forever, I know that is not only my plan, but that was God's plan for my life. but I thought it was going to be an easy street. I started playing this organ every day, every day. I was also raised in church, and I started learning Bible verses. Started hearing really cool stories, like Samson, man, you know, no split ends, cool hair, and was strong. David slaying Goliath. Man, that was cool stuff. But all of these things, like there's a plan for me, and I could do all things through Christ, that wasn't for me, that was for other people, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't need to understand it. I started taking lessons when I was 6 or 7. My parents just got sick of the pounding on the piano, on the organ. I started taking lessons. I understood why I wanted to learn songs. That was cool. I didn't want to learn music theory. I didn't want to learn scales and chords and blah, blah, blah. But I had a music teacher, organ teacher, that would hit my knuckles if I didn't do things right. And so I had to do all of that stuff as well. And I didn't understand why. And I also understood as a young kid that I was attracted to a certain type of music. Certain songs would come on the radio and I'd go, yeah, that's really cool sounding. Well, it was rock and roll. I was into it. It was how God wired me. And I was obsessed with this like music and then the style, like the clothes and what I thought was cool. So my mom, she used to make clothing. And being young, you know, I couldn't be left home alone, so guess who got to go to Joann Fabrics with her once a week? If you can name one other store more boring for a third grader than Joann Fabrics, God bless you. She would take, and you know, it was great because you could look at all kinds of fabric. It was really exciting. But there was this fabric that I saw. It had every single color imaginable. There were colors that don't even exist that were in this material. In every single shape. So there were stars, squigglies, blah, 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 blah. And it was covered in glitter. And I thought, if I had an outfit made out of that, that would be rock star right there. So I go to my mom and say, hey, can you make this? So weeks and weeks go by, and I had to try it on, and you know, it had to look just right. It was time for the unveiling of the outfit. And I put it on. You have to understand, the jacket, the shirt, and the pants were all the same, okay? And I was walking down the street to school, and I remember being so proud and just thinking, you know, today people are going to notice me. I'm just not going to blend in. I'm walking down the street. Oh, yeah, you know? Cars slowing down to take a look, you know? It was awesome. And I sat down in third grade. Hey, ladies. And that's exactly what they did. They laughed. That was my the first experience that I remember in my life that told me that I didn't want to be different in life. Being different was a bad thing. And I didn't want to be different. So one sentence destroyed me when somebody said, look, Todd forgot to take his pajamas off before school today. And man, my friends were pointing and laughing. Everybody was. And I remember just feeling like I never want to be different again. I'm just going to cruise through life and blend in. Nothing about me is going to be different. I'm going to pursue this music dream. In my whole life, I have asked God, why? Why this? Why that? Why me? And his answer ultimately is never different. He says, Todd, I love you as if you were the only person in the world. Shelley, I love the way you put it. Not for everybody as a group, but for every single person. He said, I love you. I love you so much that I had a plan for you before you were even thought about. And I have a purpose for you that, wow, you're not even going to believe. He answers me with that, but I don't always hear it. And I ask, why? Why? He's like, trust me, Todd, this is all part of the plan. All right, so junior high, middle school, great opportunities, right? New people could sign up for sports, can do all of these different things. And let's be real. I know the first thing you noticed when you looked at me. It wasn't the arm. It was the fact that I am so muscular that there's no way that they let me play sports. It just wouldn't be fair to the other kids, right? I mean, and, you know, Pastor Keenan's trying to recruit me for Team Impact and stuff. I don't want to make the other guys look bad. And so I also had started growing my hair because that was rock and roll, and I had the jean jacket, you know. I toned down the colors. But I did what all of the tough, long-haired, buff, cool guys did. I played keyboards for the show choir. Oh, yeah. Now, first day of show choir practice, I show up, and there's Tony Yankee. Tony Yankee was the cool guy. Third grade, Tony Yankee had a full-on mustache. And I'm not even kidding. He was 27, but no, he did. He had a full-on mustache. And I was like, I'm jamming with Tony Yankee. And I don't know what it is about guitarists, but when they put on a guitar, man, they just look different and cool. Tony, you know, straps on his guitar. All of a sudden, like, we're not outside, there's no fan, but his hair is blowing. And there's like red light coming down, and he's just the fog rolls in, and he's just cool. And I'm just like 13-year-old kid about to turn 14, and I had never seen anybody play professionally. I've heard people on the radio, I saw people on TV, I go, you must have to be famous to sound like a rock guitarist. You must have to be a famous guy. Well, Tony, man, he plugs in his guitar, he takes the stance, and he's like, I was like, oh, you could do that? If you could do that, I can do that. I remember when I was a kid, it said I could do all things through Christ. I could do that. We went to the same schools. We're like in this like show choir band. Tony, you know, his voice already 6 octaves lower than the teacher's. Todd, I love you, man, but you're a keyboard player. Keyboards don't sound like guitars. I said, you watch, man. Yes, they do. I can rock out like you. I can do it. And I got home and I turned on the organ. It took 20 minutes to warm up before it makes sound. And you know, the baseball cards are out because that's like the audience, right? You know, ceiling fan on, dim it. I assumed the position. I moved the big bench that held the like sheet music. And I sat down. Man, this is it. Oh, maybe they don't sound like guitars. Big obstacle. Lord, why? Why? You know, you keep telling me you have this big plan for me. I know it's music. That wasn't in my plan. Maybe my plan's better than yours. Trust me, Todd. Because I'm like, maybe I should play guitar. Trust me, Todd, you need to play keyboards. Just trust me on this one. So I decided I needed to buy a keyboard. And I started saving. I got a paper out, delivered papers 1 day a week. I was really an overachiever as a kid. And it took a long time to save up enough money to buy a keyboard. Thank you. And I finally saved up enough money to find this keyboard that I found in a newspaper. And yes, one time we had to look at a newspaper. There was no internet. I'm serious. It's not a myth. I'm serious. I know. Ask my mom. And I found this keyboard, and I called the guy, and he still had it. I had the exact amount of money. It took me like months and months and months to save up for. He still had it. I said, I'm going to come get it. And I like, you know, called him. I'm so excited. Got the address. Dad, Mom, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. He said, do you realize that's far away? We're not just going to go. That's like hours away. But in 3 weeks, we're going to be there in that same exact town. And God pulled that lever. God said, I need to orchestrate this because, wow, you just wait. You just wait till you see the significance of this. I didn't know that, you know. We talk a lot about rearview mirrors in life. We look at that rearview mirror of our life. It's awesome that the windshield is so much bigger because that's our future. But when we look back, it makes our future that much more dynamic and our present more dynamic. And when we think we're going through adversity, God's saying, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm pulling levers, man. I'm planning a party. And that's what he was doing. I had to wait for this thing. And I told you, we were talking today, patience is a vulture. That's my, I have zero patience. I wanted this thing, man. Because that was my ticket to then straight line into rock stardom, right? And so I had to wait 3 weeks. The guy didn't want to hold it. I had to call him 7 or 8 times that day for him to hold it. But he did. I'm like, all right, great. So all this time goes by. It's like 2 weeks and 6 days. The Friday night before I'm picking up this keyboard, I have so much energy because I'm so excited. And my neighbor came and said, do you want to play catch? I'm like, yeah. So we're playing football, and I threw him the football. Well, right when I threw it, there was this crack in the air. It sounded like if you're walking in the woods and you step on a tree branch. And it felt like somebody was squeezing my arm. And I'm like, God, why? My dad said, oh, you probably have a dislocated shoulder. And I'm like, really? All right. Well, ended up it was broken. I still picked up the keyboard. I never knew that I would never play it or another keyboard with 2 hands. Monday came, I was back at the doctor's. I was 14 years old. I really didn't understand why. Next thing you know, I was admitted into the hospital. 3 days go by. I'm getting poked and prodded and running all these tests. Then the day came. Sat around with the doctor who pulled my parents in, and we're sitting there, and he said, I got to tell you, your arm broke because it's riddled with cancer. Your arm is so full of cancer, and it's so weak that it couldn't withstand the throw of the football. Wow, I really didn't see that coming, so what does that mean? Well, we're going to have to amputate your arm, your whole shoulder, right away. Because if you don't, you're only going to have a couple months to live. You see, when that bone broke, the cells scattered, but we don't know where they went. The obvious place would be the chest. And from there, who knows? My parents, with tears in their eyes, said, tell me my son's going to live if we let you do this. And the doctor just got really dark. The room, you just feel this darkness feeling. He said, it doesn't look good, but I know he'll die if we don't do this. Let me do this. Then the bonus for me was, Todd, you know that hair that you have that's really nice and conditioned? You're going to lose it from the chemotherapy. Thanks, Lord. Pretty sure my plan was a little better than yours. But for some reason, I was okay with it still. There was something inside me. I still had this dream, one dream my whole life. I mean, I didn't want to be a hand model, so that worked out. And so I went through the surgery. And man, the next day, I wake up, and I all of a sudden had one arm, which you would think would be a drastic difference, right? A lot of things go through your head. Oh man, Susie in math class, she has those 2 pigtails. I like to pull them both at once, and I don't know if I could do that, and can I still dance Gangnam style? All like the important things. But I was still the same, man. I got to tell you. I still was the same person. I still had the same dream. God was still telling me, Todd, you're going to be a musician. You're going to be a keyboardist. And I don't know why, but the thought did not cross my mind to stop until I was at a football game. When you're on chemotherapy, you're really sick all of the time, and you can't really go out much. And I lost all my hair, no eyebrows, skinny, sickly looking, but I got to go to this football game, and it was the first time that I got to see all of my friends all in one place. I would see them kind of spotty. They'd show up at the hospital, whatever. And I remember being so happy in that moment. And I went to use the restroom, and this big kid came up to me, looked at me, and smiled and said, hey, kid, can I borrow your comb? One sentence destroyed me more than you know. I said, that's it, Lord. I give up. I don't want to, you're telling me I'm going to be a musician? I put up with the waiting for the keyboard. I put up with losing my arm. I'm probably not going to even live. What are you telling me? What kind of joke are you playing on me? I now know that I'm different. The one thing I didn't want to be, you made this kid remind me that I'm different. Musicians, guess what? They like to play in front of people. It's not that fun when nobody's there. And now I didn't want to do it. God, my plan was better than yours. You ruined my plan. God had to pull some levers. My music teacher at school, and I didn't tell anybody what this kid said. I was so embarrassed. And my music teacher came to see me in the hospital. I was getting a chemotherapy treatment. You know, people brought me flowers and cards and whatever. She sat this big manila envelope down on the table, on the hospital tray table. And I opened it. And it was sheet music for the next quarter's batch of songs. And it wasn't for somebody with one arm. It was for somebody with two. She never saw me as anything different than that. Tony Yankee called me a couple of days later and said, Todd, I'm going to shave my head because if you can't have hair, neither can I. People believing in me that God sent changed everything. I just kept trying and trying and trying and trying and playing and learning and learning and learning. All of a sudden, all the chords and the scales and all of the music theory, I had to dig that out and start from scratch. Just like I had to start from scratch, just putting toothpaste on a toothbrush without it falling over. Because I had to brush my teeth, and I did today. I don't know why you guys are so far back. But you know, I had back to the basics. And my relationship with Christ had to go back to the basics. But I was in a weird period where I just didn't know. I said, man, I just don't know. I started playing in bands. Next thing you know, I was in a magazine called Keyboard Magazine, which I read, and like all of these keyboard greats are always on the cover, and I was in it. I couldn't believe it. From there, I got the phone call. David Bryan from Bon Jovi cut off the tip of one of his fingers, and I got to coach him on how to make up for that. Me, little old me. I couldn't believe that. Next thing you know, I am hanging out with guys in like Def Leppard and Styx and Journey, and I start touring on my own in these regional bands, and then they're national. And I'm starting to live like this dream. And in my head, I'm saying, you know what? My plan was better. I started changing a little bit. And now I didn't want to lose my place in the circle. In came the drugs. In came all kinds of craziness. I remember playing in Key West. We were booked for 10 nights. And on night 6, I realized I didn't remember nights 1 through 5. And then I felt God turning the table and asking me why. Why, Todd? Todd, you don't understand. I didn't do anything to you. I did this for you. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And on my knees, I said, Lord, I have done nothing but spit in your face. I see it now. I see it now. I see it. I am so sorry. Please use my gift for you. I didn't think I'd ever play in a band again, and that was my passion, was playing in a band. A couple months later, I'm on Facebook, and there's this band called Apologetics, Christian band that does parodies of popular songs. They're like a Christian Weird Al Yankovic. And they're coming to my town. And I'm listening to them. I'm like, man, these guys, they do all the songs that I like, but the words are changed, and they're awesome. And they're touring. They have a tour bus. They have a fan club of like 65,000 people and blah, blah, blah. And I said, Lord, I would love to just fill in one night for them. That would just be, if you let me do that, I'm good, man. I don't have to play in bands. Just fulfill that. And I emailed them. 20 minutes later, man, email and phone call, singer. Yeah, you know, it's so weird. Praise God, we've been looking for a keyboard player, but we haven't announced it yet. We've just kept it in the inner circle. Whoa. So I had a 2-month audition all across the country, joined them, toured with them for 2.5 years, saw lives changed. I said, this is it. This is, God, I got you now, man. This is what you wanted me to do. I get it. I see it. I look at my rearview mirror. Yep, I drove here, and I drove here, and you did this, and I did this, and I went wrong. But here I am. This is where you want me to be. End of story, right? Wrong. You were hoping. You were hoping. Back, probably February or March, I felt God tugging at me saying, go out and tell the story. And I'm doing really cool things, man. I'm like signing autographs. He's like, Todd, I want you to leave this band for the next chapter in your life. Go tell people what I did. And I am plugging my ear saying, la, 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 la. But I couldn't plug this ear, so he's like, sang it. And I like, so I give the band notice, and I had no idea that it would take off the way it has. I get to go to schools all over the country and talk to kids about anti-bullying, but I teach them biblical principle, whether they know it or not. But I have to believe they know it. I pray that people feel Jesus on me. And at the end, there's always a teacher, a faculty member, somebody that comes up and says, you're a man of God, aren't you? And it's awesome. So I'm going to show you a couple quick things. You know, when somebody says that you can't do something, that makes you want to do it twice, right? Mustache Man, Tony Yankee, I still keep in touch with him. He always told me I would never sound like a guitarist, but check this out. Thank you. Take that, Mr. Mustache Man. Now, I talk about being different. Guys, I know that we all have different talents. We all have different gifts. We've all faced different obstacles. We all wish we could run faster. We all wish, I know you guys wish you were buff like me. We all wish we could do something, right? We're all trying to find our purpose. We're all trying to fit in. But there's so much fighting. When I go to these schools, there's so much fighting, and so even in churches, there's so much separation. And I equate it to music. If every single key on that keyboard had the same exact note, if every song had one note, the same note, if every song had just one instrument, the same instrument, music would be pretty boring. But I put together this song that illustrates the fact that, hey, the church organist can get along with the heavy metal guitarist, and that heavy metal guitarist can get along with the banjo player. And so this song goes through some twists and turns that show that it can all work together. Now, David was not only a phenomenal musician, he danced so much one time that his clothes almost fell off. Now, we don't want to do that, but if you want to dance in the Lord, I encourage you to do so. If you guys just want to watch, I encourage you to dance. The great thing about these keyboards is that I can record bass and drums and then play on top of it. So when I'm writing songs, etc., I can see what they're going to sound like. So we're going to give this a go, all right? Thank you. Thank you. Now look, everything that I said tonight is for you. Everything that God has to offer is for you. Go home and look up Jeremiah 29:11. Go home and look up Philippians 4:13. Okay? And look for your picture that says, oh, except for this person. You're not going to find it. His plan of salvation is for you. His plan of eternity with Christ in a perfect world is for you. If you've not accepted Christ, let us pray with you. If you're trying to find where you fit into all of this, if you're locking horns with God, saying, no, my plan is better. I can't see my future in what you are leading me to do. Pray with us. And it's nothing to be.
Listen, as Todd plays, I want you to just get out of your seat. I want you to come and just sow that seed, whatever that would be. Just sow that seed and believe God as we see that thing come to fruition. Oh, amen.